Yeah, I mean, it's cringe-wise. Like I place a lot of emphasis on how the public sees Perla and looks at our brand. The Coral Gables Farmers Market. I will distinctly remember our first day there, where we didn't beta test anything for the generators that we needed to run. We're right outside of Coral Gables City Hall. We've got it sounds like a large home diesel generator for our one group espresso machine, and it's still shorting out the damn generator. But like you said, those are the types of things that you look back on and you smile because you're like, it seemed like a big deal at the time. I was also sweating profusely and, making coffee for people and trying to build the brand that way. But, I look back on those times and, that was the first time that we met the executive chef at the Ritz-Carlton South Beach and started developing that. So that's with people perceiving and watching your brand, you never know who's watching you.
Wow.
And I wanted that to start. Come on, I don't know. I wanted to. Oh, fuck me. We're gonna let it play all the way through, and then we're gonna play it again.
Production on the show is really rough.
Listen, we've come a long way. We've come a very long way. We're keeping all this. This is all going in. All of this is going in.
Woo! Boy, let's just wait till the end.
Oh, it's still going.
Oh yeah, no, it's still going. Yeah, it's happening.
It's definitely setting the mood though.
Here we go. Now it's for real.
Now it's for real?
Now it's for real. This is super for real.
Man, that sounds good.
Welcome to a new episode of Pan Con Podcast. I am your technologically challenged producer, formerly known as Nick Jimenez. I am joined, as ever, by 8th grade basketball MVP, award-winning Santa Claus impersonating Elvis, or Elvis impersonating Santa Claus.
Santa Claus.
And also Chili Cook-Off champion.
That never happened.
Michael Beltran.
Yep.
We are joined by special guest Chris Nolte of Perla Specialty Roasters. Did I say all that right?
That's right.
Mm-hmm. God, I'm good at my job. And you are now, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong on this, the exclusive coffee provider to Ariat Hospitality. Is that the thing?
You can find Perla Coffee at every Ariat Hospitality Group location.
Yeah. No, it's a big deal for us.
And if we were like in different, people would be snapping, right? It depends. Shh, snap. There it is. That's good.
There we go.
Yeah.
I actually listened to the John Jay podcast. I thought you had a full studio audience in here.
I know.
Like an operating system. You had callers going on.
John definitely draws a crowd. Sadly, it was only Mario Obregon. But yeah, he does draw a crowd.
Whatever works.
Speaking of the devil, I don't know how we're going to get used to all these new sound effects. There it is. It's definitely a new thing that Nick apparently has spent weeks working on.
I set all this up while you were walking here from wherever you came from.
Oh yeah? From Taurus, huh? A whole 2 minutes. That's crazy.
That's the level of preparation.
I fucking doubt that. But what's up, man?
What's up? No, I'm really excited to be here. I was a Mike and Mike Tea Time listener, so
people listen to that.
Yeah, for sure.
It's crazy how many people are always like, when are you going to bring back Tea Time with Mike and Mike? I was like, I don't have an extra 6 hours in my week to do episodes of Tea Time with Mike and Mike.
I will say that every episode had a few tidbits about specifically Miami hospitality that I thought was always very interesting, and there were always things that were good takeaways, and it's good to see the show evolve, and obviously the budget increasing on the production side. You got a research department and everything. It's really crazy.
Budgeting here is huge. Yeah, Mike left me. People always they want to talk about why we don't do it anymore. Mike left me, and then we started this. Yeah, right? Exactly. Mike fucking left me. I don't want to hear any more of his shit.
You lost Mike, but you got the soundboard. So
yeah, I mean, which is equally as good in my opinion. Maybe not as entertaining. That's for sure. So I don't know. Where do we start? Fuck, it's been a week, man. When's the last time we recorded? 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, at the event 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Oh, the event. That event was great. That you haven't released that pod yet, have you?
We have, yeah.
Oh, you have? Have you listened to that one?
I have not. No.
That was really good. That I really feel like that was our most interesting live podcast that we've done.
I think so, yeah, just in the sense of like people not anticipating how much they would enjoy the format and what to expect from that. So you haven't heard it. So the idea was we did not the idea. What we did was a dinner over a live table read of the script of The Walls Have Ears by actors who are in that play, which is debuting this weekend that we're recording this. So their preview night is tomorrow, I believe.
Oh, that's right. It's tomorrow.
And then their like actual opening night. I'm not clear on what the difference is between preview and opening night because it's not like a preview.
The preview is like a party. They're gonna do like a party, and there's like an after party, and there's things, and people are like, I'm here.
That's how
the rest is like people that actually want to fucking go.
Right.
Sorry.
I mean,
pay for the
sure.
tickets.
I mean, some people want to go.
I'm just
at the
being really pessimistic.
Yeah. So anyway, but that's what we did, and then Q&A, which was what we put out as a podcast. So it was cool. I think a lot of people had never actually including me. I had never actually been at a in-person live just script reading. I've been to a play, but I'd never done that, and so I think a lot of people. To me, what was most interesting was how many people seemed to go in, including Brittany Rothwell, who ran front of house for the dinner. She went in convinced it was going to suck. And she came out of it like a lot of other people did, thinking it was pretty cool. So
that's the key to happiness in life is how you manage your expectations. So if you're expecting
God, do we ever set them low?
Yeah, we set them real fucking low. To the point that Brittany even followed up with Nick to have one-on-one chat about Cuba after, right?
Yeah, that's the second time we've done that.
Yeah. Well, she got really interested, so that's good. She watched documentaries and stuff.
That's right. I recommended one. It'll be my parting recommendation.
Oh yeah, sure. That's cool.
I think it's whatever gets people down the path and opens the door a little bit. Yeah.
I gotta say, so I have enjoyed Perla Coffee for years, and this is like a really long relationship. It's been a courtship between you and I. It's been a solid courtship.
It has, yeah.
Like when we first became friends, we were already using another coffee brand,
right.
And I'm a pretty loyal guy, so we stuck with them, and that they're good too. And there's nothing wrong with them. I think they do really good stuff. I think what really always attracted me to what you guys do is one. You're both really solid humans. I think that matters a lot when it comes to like how you want to do business with people.
Thank
you. Like you are the captain of the check-in.
Yeah.
For sure.
Every
3 months, hey, how are you? Yeah, that Dolphin game sucked. Huh? I'm like, all right, you want to talk coffee or what? What do you want to do?
Sometimes I just want to talk Dolphin. Yeah, no, for sure.
I mean, no one wants to go through the misery trail of being a Dolphin fan. Let's be honest here. But, I really respect your business acumen, your thought process, and I think the way that you guys built your business and the fact that you're like very central Miami was always great, and also the product that you guys serve is great.
For sure.
So,
thank you.
As a company, we changed over probably 2 months ago, maybe more.
Yeah, I think it's been right around 2 months.
Yeah, and it's been a swimming change. I think people have enjoyed it. It's been a very easy change because it's not like you're going from like, one well-known coffee roaster to like Hylia Coffee Anonymous.
Right,
you're going
right.
from like one well-known coffee roaster to just a well-known local coffee roaster. So I think that was really cool, and people have really appreciated it. So that's great. That's it's a testament to, we sell a lot of coffee. I mean,
For sure.
Chugs sells a lot of coffee. Definitely. So it's definitely a testament to the work that you guys do.
Thanks to our sponsor, Aganorsa Leaf Cigars.
Aganorsa Leaf is renowned throughout the world for its signature flavor that possesses all the great attributes of Nicaraguan terroir, along with classic Cuban aroma and flavor.
Aganorsa Leaf is pleased to announce a brand new edition of Guardian of the Farm, Cerberus, named after the mythical three-headed hound that stood watch at the gates of Hades. This exciting new Nicaraguan puro uses 100% Aganorsa leaf tobacco and is wrapped in Aganorsa's new Corojo 2012 cover leaf, which adds a level of complexity to the blend, adding light spice and a rich, smooth body to the blend.
When you smoke one of our world-class blends, you will experience the difference between ordinary tobacco and Aganorsa leaf. That's why we say our leaf is our strength. Learn more about Aganorsa leaf and use their store locator and find a cigar shop near you that carries their products at www.aganorsa.leaf.com.
The two of us smoke Aganorsa Leaf cigars often. We also offer them to a lot of our guests, like, for example, Dave Arvello, who every time I post a picture of a Cerberus mentions to me in my DMs or in a text how cool the band is, which it actually is a pretty slick-looking band. But also, I just want to note, little personal anecdote here, so it's not all totally straight-up red. I can say that Michael Beltran will absolutely not only vouch for the quality of Aganorsa cigars, but you met a Miami legend and handed him an Aganorsa cigar.
I did meet a Miami legend. I was smoking nearby Alonzo Mourning, and we had a conversation about cigars, and he handed me one of his, and I went inside. I bought this exact same cigar, and I handed Alonzo Mourning this Aganorsa cigar, and I said, try this. Thank me later.
I mean, if that's not an endorsement, I don't know what is. AganorsaLeaf.com. All right, you've heard us talking about the barrel here on Pan Con Podcast before. It is a sleek barrel-style cooker with loads of capacity that represents a new way to grill. Gets you great results in a fraction of the time that it would take you to cook, let's say, a rack of ribs on an offset smoker.
The legend of the barrel has only gotten greater. They're running around town winning cooking competitions left and right, including taking first place at FIU's North Miami Brewfest for Best Eatery. They're not even an eatery, people.
No, they're not.
I'm not saying they could hang with Nick making omelets in the morning, but it's still pretty impressive. Some South Florida chefs have even started to use the barrel in their restaurants. That's fucking wild. If it's good enough for them, it's good enough for your backyard. Trust me.
You can get yours at barrelthebbq.com. Use promo code PANCON10. That's PANCON10 for 10% off of your purchase. The barrel is a hand-welded barrel-style cooker with a chimney at the center of its base and a rail that runs along the circumference at the top. So you can hang ribs, pork belly, whole chicken, salmon, cheeses, dips, sauces, and all manner of other stuff along the edge.
Whatever you want.
Alternatively, use the grill rack up top to sear meats or grill veggies directly over the coals. Use a pizza stone to cook your favorite pies. The versatility of the barrel is a thing to behold. Mike, you've used the barrel. Tell the people about what you did with it.
Yeah, my favorite thing with the barrel was actually the grill on top. You know, like obviously you can cook all the meats underneath it, but the fact that you can cook, you know, some veggies on the side, or, you know, if you want to cook cheese. I didn't use the pizza stone on top, but that's a very interesting idea. I think that the versatility of the product and the fact that you can cook a whole meal in one barrel, you know, makes it pretty versatile.
I mean, a whole bunch of meals. So when I had some people over for one of those fight nights.
Oh, the
at my
epic
house,
Nick fight nights.
One of those fight nights, and did a lot of chicharrón. So I just lined pretty much the whole edge of the barrel with pork belly, and had that be an appetizer thing, and also some ribs.
How did that come out?
Came out great.
Yeah, I
Came
love
out
that.
great. I also had a past guest, Louis Estrada. Chef Louis Estrada was there, was on hand to try the chicharrón that
I
we
love
made.
that.
So
And
yeah,
what was his feedback?
he was a fan. He was familiar with the barrel already.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Seen that? Chefs all over know about the barrel.
All the way to Brooklyn.
Yeah, all the way to Brooklyn.
Again, Barrel the BBQ, promo code PANCON10 to get 10% off of your order. Tell the people, Barrel the BBQ, PANCON10.
Barrel the BBQ.com.
.com.
Pancon10. That means for
10.
some wild reason you will get 10% off your purchase when you go to buy the barrel.
That's right.
For all of your needs.
That's right. And you want to get all the accessories too.
Get all the accessories.
All of them. Good stuff.
Introducing the newest line from Drew Estate Cigars. 20 Acre Farm is a complex, refined, and medium body cigar with a super oaky and cedary notes accompanied by a whisper of white pepper and a bright hint of citrus. Built at La Gran Fabrica, Drew Estate in Nicaragua, using a velvety, and I mean velvety, Ecuadorian Connecticut shade grown wrapper.
Under that wrapper is a sun-grown Habano binder and a filler blend of Nicaraguan tobaccos from Esteli and Jalapa in perfect balance with the opulent and majestic Florida sun-grown leaf. Florida sun-grown is also the name of the farm where that tobacco is lovingly grown and harvested by Jeff Borshoix, who's the guy you see in this video playing behind us, on his pristine 20-acre plot of land near the central Florida town of Claremont. I have actually been to that farm along with plenty of other cigar tobacco farms in Mexico, Central America, and the Dominican Republic. And what Jeff, who by the way is a very nice guy, there's actually a cigar box signed by Jeff hanging on my wall. What Jeff is doing there is super legit. So it's always cool to see products like his, which is the only premium cigar tobacco grown in Florida, in products from a company like Drew Estate.
Plus, 20 Acre Farm being a Drew Estate product means it's the creation of master blender and Pan Con podcast guest Willie Herrera. Support our guests and sponsors. Get it online. Ask your local cigar shop about 20 Acre Farm by Drew Estate. Learn more about Drew Estate and use their store locator to find a cigar shop near you that carries their products at drewestate.com.
That's right. I'm probably going to smoke one of those right now.
What are we waiting for?
What I'm interested in is how you got to coffee.
Sure.
What got you there?
Yeah, it's to me the story of Perla starts freshman year at the University of Miami when Paul and I met, and I think through life it's always funny where you cross paths with people and you build connections with people that may be completely relevant or completely irrelevant at the time, and I think that as we went along and through our college careers, we both went our different ways, and I was always on the the business, the sales side of things, kind of like the big picture stuff, and Paul went the coffee routes, the sourcing, the roasting, and the farming piece of it too. So, it really Perla started really probably about 8 years ago, March of 2013. No, it would have been 2017, 2016, around there, where he sent me a text on my birthday, and at the time I was in medical sales, and he was in Kona, Hawaii, managing coffee farms there. So
Medical sales.
yeah.
That doesn't sound fun.
I actually really enjoyed it.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was.
When you say medical sales, explain what that means.
So the company I worked for, we sold surgical products. We sold things in the ICU. So
The things that they use to be successful.
yes,
Got it.
Yes,
Got
yes, yes, exactly. So I liked it because you were dealing with a lot of different call points, and they were the best products on the market. So you could actually see that the outcomes whenever these products went into a Baptist hospital, a Mercy hospital, were much better than what they were using before. So there was an inherent reward with just having a product that legitimately helped people.
Yeah.
But at the same time, unless you're having a baby, a hospital is not really a nice place to be in.
Agreed.
And so, there was just like an overwhelming sadness that was just a part of the job that you kind of had to deal with. So, but also it's very high level, very competitive. And so to me, it really helped to develop that entrepreneurial self-starter type approach that's really important for having your own business. And so, so I look at that as like the foundation of like the sales and vision side of Perla, and then Paul able to bring the operations and the sourcing and the roasting piece. So it was a good fusion, good blend of personalities. And so, yeah, we started probably around the same time that you did.
Yeah.
7 years ago, and
2016.
yeah. So it's been, and we started very organically at the Coral Gables Farmers Market. I mean, and we bought a roaster. We had essentially no customers, and that was really eye-opening because I tell people when they're writing their business plan, you put so much time and effort and everything into it. You open the doors, and nobody knows who the hell you are.
Yeah.
Whether that's a restaurant, whether that's a coffee roaster, whether that's a donut shop, whatever. And so that's it's really eye-opening because you have to be the one to go out there and make your own luck, really. So
Well, I mean, it's like you have to be willing to build a community around you, because it's not like you have dude, there's so many people that don't care about coffee.
right,
They just drink coffee.
right,
And I get it. You just drink coffee to get through the day.
for sure.
So it's like getting the people that really appreciate coffee on
Right.
the level that you guys do it. It takes time. It's the
Right.
same thing with food. It's like, you can come out the gate and say like, we're the best fine dining restaurant in the world, but no one knows the fuck you are, then they're not going to give a fuck. Like,
Exactly.
You have to build a community around yourself. So, 7 years it feels like, when you say 7, it's not that long. It feels like 9 million years.
Right,
in reality,
exactly.
Because it takes like fucking 7 years feels at least like 20. Because you've built that community, then you like really start to like mold. At that point, once you have like a name, you could start to fuck with stuff, and you could start to like push people and into different directions that they thought that maybe they weren't about, and then they start to love it, and they start to come back, and so on and so forth. So it's like, when you look back at 7 years, I would probably assume that it's like, man, it's a pretty beautiful process.
For sure.
You know? So
Yeah, I think to me, it's, I always tell people our biggest competition is bad coffee. It's not the other specialty roaster across town or even the big ones nationally. They're not even a drop in the bucket when you're talking about the large multinationals, the Italian roasters. That's our main competition because
Maxwell House.
Yeah, Maxwell House, some other larger Italian ones that sponsor lots of different things, and so to me, it's really empowering too. It's scary because obviously they've got unlimited budgets to do whatever they want, but we can move faster. We have a better product, and the biggest compliment that we get is you ruin my perception of coffee. Mm-hmm. So you had someone that was drinking Starbucks only for years, and you're like, oh wow, this is better. Like the sourcing is better, the roasting is better, it's fresher, and so I think it's such a it's you're converting people, and once you convert them, it's tough to get them to go back.
What those people always, there's a good chance they'll always have that over people like us is ease, right? They're like in every fucking corner.
Right.
It's crazy. Like there's a Starbucks legit in every corner. Like I would say there's got to be more Starbucks than McDonald's. For sure. It's fucking wild.
Right.
Like there's a McDonald's every time you turn around, there's a new one. Yep. So it's like, it's ease for them because people see it and it's like, all right, cool, I just need coffee. And then they slam it with a fuck ton of sugar and like it doesn't matter.
Right,
at that point.
right,
So
exactly.
it's like, they don't care about the coffee. They just care about like the fix they're getting at the moment. So
think about how much milk Starbucks sells. I mean, it's crazy when you're using the same amount of coffee for these large 24-ounce, big gulp size coffees, and they just add more milk. So I mean, it's kind of gross when you think about it.
Yeah, well, we won't get into that part, but yeah, I agree. So that year one, what were some of the, I would say some of the turning points or biggest hurdles or like memories that you remember, whether good or bad, from that first 12 months?
I mean, Miami permitting was, they were actually surprised whenever we came to Miami, Dade County to get permits prior to actually opening. And so that was something where it was just, they were shocked where you're not roasting coffee yet. And it's like, no, I thought we had to get the permit before we started. And they're like, oh yeah, thanks for doing that. And so that was very eye-opening because we had a roaster that was sitting in a warehouse that was not connected, not on, nothing. And so it was frustration, but lots of good memories from, looking back on just how, I'm gonna say innocent's the wrong word, but it's very like basic. Like I have my sketchbook and I wanted the bags to look like this, and I would work with my wife to put together the logo and the name and the brand. So I love that creative part because you basically take something that's an idea and then you bring it to life. And so
it's pretty beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Like when you have this idea and then you see it to come to like fruition, you're like, man, like we did that.
Right.
There's so much like, I love the creative process, and it's like whether good or bad, it's like gut wrenching at times, but it's like, man, when you see it, like when it becomes this,
right?
Like now, like you guys have a fuck ton of these things. But like at the beginning, it was like you probably was like, wow.
Yeah, no, it's true.
What how did the name come about?
We wanted a name that was conveyed a familiar sense of luxury, that felt high end, that was that could be tied together also in the packaging. So we just wanted something that was that could fit with a lot of different partners. We knew we wanted to be really heavy on the wholesale side, not big into the coffee shops, and so that was our opportunity to really understand how the brand needs to speak for itself, even if it's just sitting on a shelf somewhere. So, that to me is where we came up with that. And we had big aspirations. So we didn't want it to be Miami Coffee Roasters. We wanted it to be something that could translate and
something that could be like understood nationally.
Yeah.
I have a just quick one, because you mentioned the name being reflected in the packaging. Are you referring to like the color and the gloss?
Yeah, like the pearlescent. Yeah.
Can you, just because I'm curious from like that branding standpoint, talk about like the I'm wondering, like, were there other names? Did they look at a black one and think like that looks like this other item? Like, what were some of the names that got knocked out, given that was part of the process?
We looked at, we thought about like Gable's coffee roasters, because we wanted it to have, we were thinking about Deco, which we obviously didn't choose, and so we wanted a few of those. But yeah, it's something that did feel high end, that could be tied around, and the bag design was all part of that, and lots of art boards and kind of putting together looks and feels of packaging and how everything's going to tie together.
Were there other like shiny objects though that you thought, like, if we made it this other color, it could be, I don't know, like obsidian? I'm not saying you considered that, but
yeah, I mean, it's we've thought about that for other bag additions to do. Because absolutely, this you could invert
like a
the
ruby
colors.
one and
yeah, that would be cool. I mean, our primary brand is just nice and clean and a little bit of minimalist with some splashes of color, but.
Yeah. And for people who aren't watching the video version of this, which you should on YouTube, and you can get there, youtube.com/ I think it's DADE mag something. The bag is like
.edu.
The bag is sort of like a pearl white, and it's a glossy, so it really does look like a pearl finish. Like
Anyway,
I was just curious from that standpoint.
No, of course.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people listen to this. Like, some of their feedback is like, oh, I want to start my own thing. It's cool to hear. And that's one of the things that like gets a lot of people stuck, is like, what do I call this thing I'm doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's you're never going to have complete affirmation that it's right, and that's the ego that goes into starting a business is necessary, because if you don't have that ego, then you're not going to make it very far. So yeah, I think you have to have that approach of, it's Perla, and if you don't like it, then we're going to roll with it, because 95% of the people do. So yeah, that's but yeah, you're right. It is a risk, like that it's never like that full feeling that it's right,
In the first 12 months, how often did you and Paul disagree?
Very rarely.
That's good.
Yeah. I mean, we had pretty clear lanes that we focus on. And in terms of the sales vision, like overall brand direction, like I basically have the full ability to determine where we go. And same thing with the coffee on his side, where he has full ability to build a portfolio. But I will say our portfolio has evolved over the years based on customer feedback, and especially like with our core espresso blend, that was 2-3 years of working with hotels, restaurants, saying like, can it taste more like chocolate, a little bit less acidity, better with milk, and so we fall into those iterations a little bit more. But that's also because we're listening, and I think that's I look at it as an evolution rather than just a consistent product that's over the years just stays the same. So.
I mean, I think that's good and special, like having partners that understand their lane and respect each other's lane. I think it's like usually often the biggest downfall of a partnership, right? It's like you don't respect what people do, and then you don't respect what I do, and then that's when they start to clash, and it starts to go to fucking shit.
Right.
Real fast. So from year 1 to 3, well, I would ask, in 7 years, what was the biggest jump in those 7 years?
I would say early 2020, we were primed to have a massive year. We were in the process of opening our UK facility, and it basically got put all on hold, which, I'm not telling anything new to anybody listening to this that's in hospitality, but, it was definitely an eye-opening experience where you go from, one day, and February 2020 was by far our best month we've ever had revenue-wise, and then it just, you see the graph go down to the bottom. So
was it like March the 14th or whatever?
Yeah. Just for 2 weeks, guys. We'll just be there for 2 weeks.
Yeah, just a little vacation.
Right. Yeah, just a vacation. Just, do
Listen, we're still better off than a lot of the people.
Yes. Yeah. No, absolutely. And I mean, that was an opportunity also to kind of recalibrate and rethink things and really make you appreciate hospitality. To me, like there's there's nothing like going to a restaurant on a Friday night and it's full and the energy and the service is spot on and it's just it's harmony, you know. And I think that was something when you pull away from something and you have to think creatively and it makes you really long for that, and it really affirms that that's the place you want to be in, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this story like countless times, but like obviously when the world closed, you know, I felt like I worked harder to understand like how could we be better at this, because like obviously we're not going to be doing what we regularly do on a daily basis, and we never closed.
Right.
So like, okay, so it gave us an opportunity to recalibrate and like rethink, and then obviously like the product that we have today is better than the product that we had at the beginning of 2020.
For sure.
So it's like, you know, it was obviously a lot of bad, some good, but it was the same, you know, like ending of February, I was like, man, finally we may fucking make it.
Right.
Like this is fucking great for all of our properties. And then it was like,
Yep. Yep.
so you don't have a sound effect for that?
Sad,
Just like a
sad
boom?
trombone too.
I mean, we have a sad trombone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't really knock the same as just like something blowing up, but I'll take it. Okay. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
It was the initial press conference, and then just continuous. Yeah.
So so like post 2020, 2021, 2 and 3, what are some of the things that I mean, I know what you guys have improved since then. Like, I mean, you guys are pretty much your own person now, as before you were distributing through someone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what are some of the bigger takeaways that you think that you guys have grown from in the last 23 years? I mean, 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, I think nobody's ever going to treat your brand as well as you do, and you have to be the guardian of that. And you know, in the case of distributors, we use them sometimes, but there's other times where we don't, and so we got wise to not necessarily trust other people with your brand, because there's nobody that's ever going to be a better advocate for that brand than you are. And
For sure.
Yeah, I think that you know, on the coffee side of the distribution piece of it, that's really where the big brands squeeze out the small guys. And so, you know, they'll go to a large property, a large hotel, and say, like, look, we'll give you $50,000 of equipment as long as you use our stuff.
Right.
And so that's to a small business, you know, that's a lot of capital to take on at the same time.
Too much, yeah.
And but that's the expectation that the market has. And so, right or wrong, that's those are the rules you have to play by. So
I think it's interesting, right? Because like when I look at just talking about like the way that you treat your brand and the way you should treat your, like for us, the way we treat brands, you know, like I have no problem pushing a coffee brand, because like obviously we've gotten behind you guys and before our previous coffee roaster, like as, you know, as a company, and we put them on the menu. I feel like when you work with other things like booze, it just feels like a little sleazier, right? Like,
Yeah.
like, you know, we want our name on the menu. It's like, well, you know, like you didn't have to ask for that. You just got that because it's a company-wide thing. I feel like it's like you're almost like dealing with like a used car salesman, right? Like, we want this, and they're
Right.
kind of like sweating, and the comb-over's happening and all that stuff. And it's like, I feel like it's so much less genuine, and just really just trying to like use your platform to continue to push theirs.
Right.
And it's not really a partnership, right? Like, you know, when we've talked plenty in the last like 3+ years now. And it's really like more of a true partnership. We want to provide great coffee.
for sure.
We want to buy great coffee. There's not several options for us to buy great coffee.
Right.
You know, like it's a little more like finite. Like there's like 3 options.
Right.
You know, that aren't really going to hit us over the head for like just weird shit. And I feel like when you're a small, almost, and I won't say like mom and pop, because we're not quite that anymore, and I don't think you guys are quite that anymore either. The base of who we both are is still that, but it's just like a different like feeling, right? Like
Right.
when you get bigger, you go to these bigger hotels, and it's just like it feels like so kind of like sleazy and just like money oriented, instead of like, cool, so we're partners now. You guys have good shit. We provide good shit, so let's just like do this thing together.
Right. Right.
It's very weird, man.
And I think that that's something where, I agree with that, and that's why I like your group, because in terms of ages, both 7 years old, makes a lot of sense, and it gives us credibility having a partnership with you guys, but also that relationship of knowing that if you guys are out, like, you get coffee the next day.
But I think it's twofolded, right? Because like for me, what was the thing that always attracted me to like what you guys did? Obviously, you guys have good product, but it's more like you're down the street,
right?
You're here,
Right.
You know, like I'd much rather support like, I mean, you went to UM,
Right.
you know, like I mean, you're on Bird Road. I live on Bird Road.
Yeah.
So it's like you're like down the street from me, and I find much more value in that. You know, and I've always told you that. Like I find a lot of value in that. I'm also like incredibly loyal.
Sure.
You know, so it's hard for me to break my word ever. So it's like, you know, things like that were always like, you know, this is the better play. And I'll tell you honestly, from like our initial tastings, you know, the team wanted to go with you guys from the beginning.
Right.
The biggest problem was the distribution part of it.
Right.
Which is, I hated.
Yeah.
It's like sleazy.
Yeah.
That was like the sleazy car salesman part that I fucking hated.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, it's like, I do feel like it's a great relationship, partnership, you know, long term. And I think that Miami as a whole, I mean, like your coffee shop is down the street from my house.
Sure.
You know, it's like, it's one of those things that I think for you guys to represent Miami in the coffee world is cool.
Yeah. No, I absolutely. I mean, I think elevating it more to have a more professional spin on it too, because it's like, you know, Miami has a reputation for always not bringing their professionalism to the table. Right. And so that's always been something that, you know, I've lived here for 22 years now, and that's still a major point of frustration. And so that's, you know, you see it when you eat out, you see it when you go to the mall, you see it basically everywhere. And so I think that's having the opportunity to integrate that and work with brands that have that level of professionalism is.
But I also think that it's like the level of professionalism is also because like as a whole, hospitality, food and beverage in Miami is super young.
Right.
And like, what's it known for?
Right.
South Beach.
Right.
How's that going? Pretty bad.
Pretty bad.
Pretty bad.
Pretty bad.
So like the people that have really put Miami on the map have nothing to do with that
Right.
at all whatsoever. And they're very good at their job.
Right.
Whether it comes to restaurants or small artisans or bakeries or whatever it may be, coffee roasters, like none of them have to do with that.
Right.
And as long as we continue to do what we do,
Right.
right, and approach things the way that we approach them, that conversation will change
Right.
over time.
No, of course.
You know, like we're not Vegas,
Right.
right? Like Vegas is this grand neons everywhere. Like it's just like South Beach is a really small footprint in all of Miami.
Right.
I mean, Miami's fucking massive.
Sure.
You know, and it's getting bigger every day because we keep pushing west. So it's like, you know, it's one of those things that, you know, you guys keep doing what you're doing, and us and so many other people that are in our atmosphere, like we're just that shit's gonna change because they're gonna get pushed out.
Sure. No, of course. And that's a question that I was thinking about that prior to this, is that if you had to add one element to Miami hospitality to lift it up more, or, you know, give it a jolt, what would you add to it?
I think we're living it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I think we're living it. I think that like I don't need to add anything. I think people need to keep on doing what they're doing.
Right.
Because like what has always separated you know, good, like just a whatever food city, transient tourist trap to like really great like food destinations is smaller market people doing really special shit and continuing to do so. Just
Sure.
keeping like pushing on, like the fact that there are chefs that own their own places and that they dictate term and they do their thing. And, you know, like there's so many, the Pablo Zitzmans of the world, what the kids at Boya Day do, like those kind of things are going to continue to make Miami special, like bakeries, what Zach does, what Caracas Bakery is doing, what so many people are doing. It's just continuing to push it along.
Right.
So I don't think that we need to change much. I think we just need to continue doing what we're doing. I think in a lot of ways, if we continue doing what we're doing, it's like, it's the quote I tell all my teams all the time. It's like, be so good that they can't ignore you.
Right.
Right? The like bare bones Miami hospitality groups, whether it's coffee or bakeries or restaurants or whatever it is, they're all really good. Just keep on being really fucking good.
Right.
So like that way we can drown the Carbones of the world out, right? And we continue to drown them out.
Right.
And we continue to push along, you know, and that's what will continue to put us like make us special. And I think furthermore, like the guest needs to, and they do, right? Like all those places are busy.
Right.
Like, you know, people go to those restaurants, right?
Sure.
But it's also valuing the restaurants that have been there for a very long time.
Right.
And, you know, I make it a point that at like a lot of my week when I go out dining is in, I love how he tops mine off like really high. This Niall knows me super well. When I go to some of these places that have been there for like 30 years,
Right.
Pamela's restaurant, it's a Chilean restaurant that's been there for
I've been
35
there
years.
many times. Yeah.
You know, like I went there on a Tuesday, slammed.
Yeah.
You know, like you go to Matsuri on a fucking Sunday at 5,
Right.
you have to wait 30 minutes for a table. Like
crazy.
our betters on a Tuesday afternoon, you're gonna have to wait in line. Like shit like that really matters.
And I think that's like the non-sexy true answer for whenever you're mentoring someone, you're talking to a new entrepreneur, a new chef. It's not sexy, you know, because they see. I mean, in business, they see the exit that. You know, they were in business for 3 years and they sold for $1 billion. And it's like, for every one of those, there's 1,000 dudes that are just doing the same thing correctly for 20 plus years and making something out of it.
It's super funny. Like, just real random question was asked to me and one of my partners. Like, how much would it take to like buy your hospitality company? I was like, you don't have enough money.
Right.
You don't have enough money. I was like, oh, really? I'm like, oh, yeah, because this isn't about the money.
Right.
It's not about the money for me. It's like, yeah, would that make my life easier? Sure. But then tomorrow I'd be super fucking depressed, right? Because I just gave you all the work that I've been working for 18 years. And on top of the fact, I love this shit.
Right.
Exactly. It's about how much I love it. It's not about how much money we make from it.
Right.
You know, like we didn't build a concept to turn it out and have 5 locations and sell it.
Right.
We built a concept and concepts to help, in my mind, a city that I love very much.
For sure.
And to like just be like tired of the shit that Miami doesn't have good food.
Right.
Like, or that we don't have artisans, or we don't have people that specialize in a thing, because we have like a lot of great of everything.
Right.
But people just don't want to notice.
Right.
You know, it's like because they want to talk about like South Beach. They want to talk about shit that doesn't matter. So I don't know. It's a really like the new entrepreneur, the new restaurant owner, the new like business owner. Obviously, they're super money focused,
right?
Because you got to keep the lights on.
Sure.
But you should never like sacrifice who you are to keep the lights on.
Of course. Yeah, I think that's running a business is too painful not to love it. I mean, it's a continual roller coaster.
What's the most painful part for you?
Losing accounts.
Oh yeah,
easily.
Yeesh.
Easily, and it happens very, very rarely. So, but I can tell you basically, like in 7 years, we've lost 3 or 4 like larger accounts. Not a bad batting average.
What's a large account for you? How many pounds a week?
200 plus.
Oh, that's big.
Yeah,
that's big.
But
those are hotels.
Right.
Yeah.
It's more the fact of I expect to win. I don't expect to lose. And you know,
you play to win
play to
the
win
game.
the game. and I think I forget. I don't know if it was Pat Riley, but he says losing hurts so much more than winning feels good.
Oh
and
yeah.
It's just
so true.
it's so painful. But but no, I think that's something where it's like, all right, well, since you control the business, like just wake up tomorrow and go out and sell more coffee and build more relationships and go out and get it. So, you know, for every time that happens, a lot of it is tied to staff turnover. And so your opportunity may be 18 months from now when staff turns over again. So it's a plus and a minus, but yeah, by far that's the thing that keeps me up at night. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think like our businesses are different. Like the hardest thing for me has been to train people to understand like how much it matters.
Right.
You know, like it matters a lot to me.
Right.
But it's never going to matter as much to me as it does to other people. But to get them to understand like the craftsmanship of what we do,
Right.
like how important that is to not just now, for the rest of your life.
Sure.
Like how important that shit is forever. Like if you're planning to do this shit forever, like it's important now and forever.
Right.
So to get them to understand like how important it is, like simple things is probably one of the more painful things. Like, you know, like we've changed a lot in 7 years. Like losing a guest over changes, you know, it happens.
Right.
We evolve just like every human evolves, and I think that's like expected. But the painful thing is trying to get people to understand, like this shit will matter to you forever.
For sure.
You know, like the way you season a piece of steak is going to be the way you season a piece of steak for the next 20 years.
Right.
So
Learn it right the first way. Yeah.
right. So it's like those are the more painful things for me. It's
But what about, so rewinding 7 years, where was your expectation to where you'd be now compared to where you are now? Because I mean, it's like from the outside looking in, super impressive. I mean, I you know, you've got 200 plus people that work for you.
247.
That's crazy. That's awesome. I mean, that's,
I guess it's awesome.
yeah, scary as shit. Yeah. But that's like that constant cycle of paranoia that's also gasoline in the, so I mean, what was your expectation when you started out, and how does it stack up to where you are now?
I can speak 1,000% for the space that we're sitting in. Like the day Ariete opened, I knew it couldn't open the way that I wanted it to, and I also wasn't ready for it to open up to all the dreams and thoughts that I had because I wasn't ready. Right. Who we are today is much more of who I wanted us to be.
Okay.
What we execute today, what we mean today, the kind of food that we do, the style of service that we have, like that was all what I would have loved to have done like year one. But one, I had no money.
Right.
Two, I was not ready for that. And three,
Why weren't you ready?
I mean, you know, as you know, ego is a thing, right? At 29, I was like, yeah, for sure, I got this for sure. I'm super good. And then you start getting into these meetings and shit, and you're like sitting there and it's like, yeah, no, for sure. And you're like, what the fuck did we just talk about? You know, and from the service side too, like I had no idea.
Right.
I give all the credit in the world to people like Brittany Rothwell and Georgia and Andrew McCutcheon and people that we've added to our team that are really fucking good at their job.
Right.
So like just understanding where I was at. But what I was good at was building a community.
Right.
And being a part of the community. And also in that place, that year one, I still had a really hard time figuring out like who I was as a chef too.
Right.
Like the kind of food that I thought was super meaningful.
Right.
It only came when we were about to close. And I was like, fuck it. We're just like, we're going to go for the mattresses and we're going to say, fuck it.
Yeah.
And it was okay. Now the way
bit better than okay though.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we still have a lot of growing to do and a lot of things to work on. But like, I think conceptually, like how all the concepts kind of came about was, you know, if you're a creative, it's like, so you only have 22 menu items.
Right.
You need more. You need to like be able to do more, be able to flex in different places. Like, I love like incredibly simple food. You can't do that here.
Right.
So that's kind of like how the evolution of the company happened. And also having partners that are super willing to fight it out with me.
Right.
Which is not common. You know, saying like, this shit's not going to be easy. If you guys want to do it, I'm down. And they were like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, okay, it's going to hurt.
Yeah,
yeah. And, you know, they feel it. Like, it hurts, you know, but at the same time, they believe in, like, the overall long term. It's like the young business owner, restaurateur, entrepreneur, whatever you want to call it, you're not doing it for today. You're doing it for 10 years from now.
Right.
And I think a lot of people have a hard time because they got to pay their bills today.
For sure.
You know, build yourself a life that you can pay your bills. You're not crushing it every week. You're not like, you know, drinking $1,500 bottles of champagne, but you're happy, you're good, you're paying your bills, and you're still doing the thing that fulfills you.
Right.
Which is the biggest thing. Are you fulfilled?
Right.
You're not just slanging pizza because you think pizza is a good idea. So, it's those kind of conversations I think are the hardest ones to have with people that are new to opening a business, a restaurant, or whatever it may be.
And I think that sometimes those big dreams scare people and then also inspire people, number one. And then number two, to me, you have to have a bunch of cringe decisions, conversations where you look back and you're like, oh shit, because that shows self-evolution, ability to critique yourself and say, man, that was probably not the best way to approach that. Or
what's like a really good cringe moment for you? I remember for me.
Do you want to share first and then I'll...
Yeah, no, I remember like, so it was like year, maybe 3.5 here. And like, I'm just trying to make money, right? Like I opened up Mondays. We had been closed the first 2 years on Mondays. And I was like, fuck it. If I could do $1,500 on a Monday, that'll pay for X, Y, and Z. I could work the line with just me and one other person. Like, cool, that's great. And then I had the same thought process about Saturday brunch. And I remember that, like, at that time, I had, like, a whole frat working for me. All, like, those kids.
Like an actual
frat. Like, they were all in a frat together.
Yeah,
like,
their letters on, yeah.
And they were all, like, really great kids, and they still come here now, and they're all, like, they whatever jobs they have degrees in. And they were a bunch of good kids, but they were kids. And they were like, getting super fucked up till late. I imagine you're in college, you're working at a restaurant. All these guys were like super charismatic and like really great dudes. And we're doing a Saturday brunch. And Saturday brunch was like, we would do like 10 covers every Saturday.
Oh, wow.
Like 10 covers. And then 10 would turn into 20. And the next week we would do 24. And then it was like 24, and then it was like 30. And I was like, I can still do this by myself. I'm good.
Right.
And then we had one brunch that we like just ripped off like 90. And I was by myself on the line. And I remember I had this young, he's still young, and he still works in the industry, food runner named Danny. And I was like, Danny, I need you to come drop fries. I need you to come do fries while I do everything else. Like I need to cook things, and I need someone to just drop fries for me and just put them in the tins. He's like, all right, cool, I got it. And I remember cooking Benedict's or whatever, and this is like super cringe. And this kid is like super hungover. We used to call him Juice Box because his last name was Hugo. He's such a good kid.
Juice
too.
Box.
And I remember
fucking fries.
he's like super hungover, like he's just sweating yesterday's booze out of his like skin. And there's a table of like 12 ladies in front of me. Right in front of the kitchen, right? Area, it's an open kitchen. There's just like whatever. He drops half this tray of mimosas on this one lady. And I'm like, and I'm on the flat top and I'm picking up Benedict's and I hear it all behind me and I just like, fuck. It's like, what are you going to do at that point? Right? It's like, I'm just like, fuck. And I turn around and Juice is looking at me and he's like sweating. And like, there's only like 3 flutes left on the tray.
They slowly fall off as he's losing it.
And I'm just like, I'm so angry, but I can't be angry, right? Like, I just can't be angry. Like, there's one cook on the line, which is me. I have my food runner dropping French fries and breakfast potatoes for me, and Juice Box that did close the night before, then get hammered till 5 a.m, then showed up on time at 9 to work brunch, has now dropped, 7 or 8 of the flutes on this one lady. And obviously she's irate. And me, I'm like, well, all right. So
at least you got 90 covers there.
Here we are. After that, we had more people on the floor and I had more cooks on the line.
There
but
we go. Live and learn.
That was definitely a cringe moment. And another thing that I can't explain to people enough is like, we grew a ton.
Right.
We're now a Michelin-starred property. We have an incredible crew of people. The way that we operate is like fucking pretty intense from top to bottom, the way that we talk about food, the way that we approach service. But we grew from that moment.
Right.
Like that moment, I'll never forget it. I was also sweating booze at that time. So, you know, like.
It's part of the reason you weren't mad at Juice Box.
Right. Like, Juice is still a great kid. I love that kid. And I was like, you know, like you have to live and you have to learn, man.
Yeah.
You have to live and you have to learn. And it was cringy at that moment. And it's like, I could also talk about areas like Friends and Family Day, that shit. I've like blocked, you know, like when you put things in boxes in your brain, you're like, I don't want to talk about
Right.
that. Like that.
It's for therapy 15 years from now. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Or less. Right. But it was like,
Or tomorrow.
yeah, it was like those kind of moments. That was one of my cringy moments. Because even on top of that, it was like, I had a full frat working for me, and they're all great kids, man. Like they still come around, and I love seeing them. But fuck, it was a time in my life that I was like, this is all I can afford.
Yep.
Like this is all
true.
I got.
It's true. Yeah, and I think as you get older, you value maturity because you learn that the male brain doesn't fully develop until 27, 28, and so you can't. I mean, you're literally talking to children.
Or 37, or
Right,
38,
right,
whatever.
Or it's still a process. It's
Yeah.
a process. But yeah, I mean, it makes you value that maturity piece. That's, I mean, you can't ask a child to run, you know, a full restaurant and expect the results of adults doing the same thing. So, yeah, I mean, it's cringe-wise. Like I place a lot of emphasis on how the public sees Perla and you know looks at our brand. You know, the Coral Gables Farmers Market, I will distinctly remember our first day there where we didn't beta test anything for the generators that we needed to run. And so I am still impressed that we were able to maintain a booth there because the generator we had to have for an espresso machine, even though it's a small one, I mean, you could hear that thing freaking 10 miles away.
I love that.
And so it's you know, we're right outside of Coral Gables City Hall. We've got it sounds like a large home diesel generator for our one group espresso machine, and it's still shorting out the damn generator. And so but like you said, those are the types of things that you look back on and you smile because you're like, you know, it seemed like a big deal at the time. I was also sweating profusely and, you know, making coffee for people and trying to build the brand that way. But, you know, like I look back on those times and, you know, that was the first time that we met the executive chef at the Ritz-Carlton South Beach and started developing that. So that's with people perceiving and watching your brand, you never know who's watching you, and it's such
People really respect that growth.
Yeah, for sure. They want to see the struggle. I know that's something that you and I have talked about, where it's like, yes, you know, we could have raised a bunch of capital and skipped a bunch of bases, but when you remove that struggle piece, that causes a brand to lose credibility, I think. You know, like you see it in different elements of food and beverage, and you know, it just doesn't have that story. And even when you're talking about large brands acquiring, because they try to create those brands from scratch, quote unquote, but
Right.
it just doesn't have the same. It doesn't have the story. Like it doesn't have the same feel behind it.
Has anyone tried to buy you?
No.
Oh, yeah?
No.
And then what if that happened?
I'm a big fan of.
Put him on the spot.
Yeah.
I love that.
No, I'm a big fan of. You know, what got you here won't get you there. The book. I don't know. I'd like to think that I can evolve as an owner and keep things going. But you know, I have other passions and I enjoy different things. And but I love Perla. I mean, like Perla is my baby. I mean, it's like blood, sweat, and tears. And so it's never to say never, but if it's something that will help to continue the trajectory in terms of going after the large multinationals and the big guys and evolving coffee beyond this is just some generic product that doesn't have traceability, that doesn't have freshness, that doesn't have just intention behind it, then yes, I think that may be an option where that's the baton that gets picked up and run with it. So.
You think you can grow to that level and keep the integrity that you have now?
Yes. Yeah.
Why?
Because we thought about it from the very beginning in terms of scalability, sourcing, quality control. Yeah. So that was always front of mind whenever we were writing the business plan. That's what we wanted to get to.
Right.
But I think that's a lot of things have to happen, and a lot of things have to happen correctly. And I think we're on a good path, but it has to continue. And
What's your goal today, right? Like 7 years deep, like what is the thing that you focus on every day right now? I mean, other than quality product and so on and so forth, what is the thing that's top of mind every day when you wake up?
continuing to get in front of the right people to spread out and amplify. Yeah, to me, that's... Best Buy was my first job. As soon as I got my driver's license, I applied for a job and started in Cool Springs, Tennessee. So I grew up in Nashville. So yeah, that was my first job as soon as I hit 16, and I was selling car audio equipment, which I was not a car audio type of kid. I would have been more appropriate in like the computer section. So, but I was selling subwoofers and amplifiers. So it's
listen. I worked at Sears one summer.
Nice.
Selling lawnmowers. I remember I used to train in the morning, and then 3 days a week, I would work at Sears, and then I worked at an Applebee's on the weekends.
Nice.
Yeah, it was weird times.
Yeah, I mean, but you wouldn't know what a zero turn radius was unless you worked at Sears. So
Right.
that's your main takeaway. Yeah.
A walk behind lawnmower. I mean, come on. That's like
How many passes can I do with this bagger? Yeah, like what? Yeah, just buy it.
And I'm like, I mean, I'm in college at the time, and I'm like hungover. I'm like, I don't. Tim, can you come? I don't even know. But it was
Tim to the courtesy phone.
right.
This guy wants to buy another mower. What's going on here?
Oh man, talk about like interesting times. I mean, honestly, at that time though is when I really gained my love for hospitality. Period.
Yeah. No, that's so in the Applebee's, you mean, or yeah?
Yeah, just like the restaurant world in general, like that shit, like that movie Shenanigans, or what's it called? Waiting.
Yeah.
Waiting, like, man, that movie was real.
Right.
Like fucking A. When I worked at that Applebee's, like it felt, when I watched the movie Waiting, I was like, this is kind of super spot on.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just thinking, like, especially being at an Applebee's, like it's in that genre of
Super
restaurant.
in the genre. I remember showing up to
An
be
Applebee's Fridays fusion. Yeah.
to be like a morning server on a Sunday. You know how many times people asked me if I had been saved by Jesus, our Lord Jesus Christ, on a Sunday morning at Applebee's?
shit.
Oh my God. And then not tip me.
Well, they didn't say they
verbal
were
tip.
going to save you.
Right. Yeah, like they not tip me, and it's like, son, have you been saved? I'm like, oh, so many times. So many times. So many times.
Tax
All right.
deductible donation will be added to that tip line right there. Yeah.
I mean, Danville, Virginia is an interesting place.
Yeah.
You grew up in Nashville?
Yeah. Born in Arkansas, grew up in Nashville.
Oh, Arkansas, huh?
Yeah.
How was that?
Arkansas?
Just the whole thing, growing up in like the middle of America.
Arkansas. Look, my great grandparents came from Germany in 1926, and so there was an all boys Catholic school that they had connections there in the middle of Arkansas, and so Subiaco, Arkansas, was really where the Nolte family came to, and then eventually we moved to Fort Smith, Arkansas, which was kind of at the corner, right on the border of Oklahoma. So that's where I was born, and that's where my parents met. But thankfully, my dad got a promotion and a job over in Nashville, and that's what brought us over there. And it's really crazy to see the growth trajectory of that city, and you know the city that I remember from when I got there at 4 to what it is now, which is just really very much a center of culture and food and obviously music. And so, you know, going back to the hospitality piece, like my first foray there was these large music festivals. And so I had a high school classmate that his dad had a gigantic catering company, and all of these concerts would be put on by Tomcats Catering. And so we would, all the high school kids would be there either selling soda if you're below 18, or you were selling Jack Daniel's country cocktails if you were over the age of 18. And
What is a Jack Daniel's country cocktail?
the straightest way to get a hangover when you when you're 18 years old.
Super into this.
It's so delicious. Yeah, you're like, cool, just have 7 of them. And just, oh my God. So it's
I actually have never been to Nashville, and I've been dying to go.
you have to go. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been dying to go. Like, it's just something that's on the list, and I just don't travel much. So,
Yeah, I would definitely go and obviously see the main drag, but kind of what we're talking about with South Beach. Like everybody thinks Broadway, Second Avenue, but there's a lot of really interesting talent that's been there for 20, 30 years. It's just like that in every city where it's.
I mean, that's like what I want.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
When I go somewhere, that's what I want.
For sure.
I don't want like what the tourists go to. I want to see like the. I want the real thing that has gotten the city to like where they're at.
Right.
And yeah, I'll go to like 1 or 2 of the mainstream things or whatever. And
For sure. As you should, because it's operationally, like it's the amount of bottled beer that these things sell is insane. I mean, like $20-30 million in revenue, and it's like 80% is bottled beer. It's really crazy.
really opposite from Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for
Miami's
sure.
It's not like a bottled beer city.
Not a bottled beer. Yeah.
No, it's just not a thing. So, when did you move to Miami?
To come to UM.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like later,
Yeah.
like 18.
Right. So I lived in Nashville for 14 years, and it was either between Vanderbilt, St. Louis University, or UM. And I came down here in it's probably March or February, and I was like, "This is it." You know, like I've just immediately like the feeling and the connection, and I just love Miami. I mean, it's the only two places I think I could ever live are here or Nashville. Like those are the two places, and so. You know, I'm so I love living here. I think that UM was such an interesting transitional period because it eases you into Miami, where I think a lot of people come down here and then they get overwhelmed. And so I think that for me personally, it was a good 4-year transition and helped me to get out and meet and kind of experience the city in bite-sized pieces rather than getting the whole tidal wave that washes over you. So
I mean, it's quick. If you just come here like not for school, it's like it's just a lot of shit
right.
real fast.
Right. And
So-
I think that's even when you're interviewing people, it's like, why are you here? Is a very valid question, because if there's no family ties, if you don't understand the culture, it's really, really tough to get acclimated. And especially if you're coming from Middle America, from the South, it's culturally very different. And I say that, my wife is born and raised in Venezuela, like came over here when
yeah.
she was 18. So it's like fully integrated. And
It was like the opposite for me. So like I grew up, born and raised here, and then when I moved to Virginia, it was like the opposite culture shock. It was like,
can
what
imagine.
the fuck is happening here? It's like, I mean, I used to not be able to sleep because it was so quiet.
right.
It was like, why? I mean, I can hear everything.
Right.
What's happening? And then in Miami, like it's obviously very noisy, and like it was like the opposite kind of culture shock. So I can see, going from that to this, how easily it would be like overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you lost a bunch of kids, especially freshman, sophomore year. I mean, it's like they just couldn't handle it. Typically they were very restricted in how they were raised. I mean, my college roommate, freshman year, would come in consistently, like wasted 3-4 o'clock in the morning, like 3 or 4 days a week from South Beach. And it's like, this guy was from very affluent family in Philadelphia. Dad was completely self-made. And then like at the end of the year, he's like, you're not coming back here. Like, you clearly just blew through a bunch of money. And it's like, on the flip side, I distinctly remember going out to South Beach for the first time, and I'm like, I ordered 2 drinks and it's $100. Like, how does that even happen? Like it's just like a tale of 2 different student groups, basically.
So tell me, like I always like to ask 7 years is pretty fast. What was the one turning point? I mean, obviously, like no COVID gave you an opportunity to like recalibrate. Like, what was a turning point that you kind of saw the business kind of change?
When more and more people, especially here locally, South Florida area, started to know our name. And I think that's
What do you think caused that?
Hustle, getting out there, trying to make as many connections as possible. I mean, because it's obviously we don't have a lot of we have one coffee shop in Coral Gables. If we had 10, it would be probably a lot easier to build a brand that way. But that's not really our business model or really of interest right now. So.
Right.
I think it's I refer to it as pollination, where it's like you've got someone that's with this group or with this hotel or with this restaurant, and then they go somewhere else and they say, I love Perla at this place and I'm going to bring it here. And so I think it's that to me is the thing that's most, it's still surprising, where it's like, I was on vacation the other day and I had the Perla hat on, and there was a guy who's like, I love that coffee. It's the best one. And I introduced myself. He's like, oh shit. And so it's still surreal. So I'm sure you feel the same with
100%.
when you hear people talking about your brand.
About Pangong Podcast is what you're saying.
Mike and Mike.
I mean, I'm always shocked when I go somewhere. Usually, I'll wear an Ariat shirt or whatever, and hold on, time out. Gotta cut this part out. Yeah, chef. Man, tell Brittany she could do a call-in. She just called me right now. Yeah. All right, Britt. Bye.
Yeah.
Welcome. You're live on Pangong Podcast.
To what do I owe this pleasure?
Really, we're here talking with Chris from Perla Coffee.
Oh, what a gem.
How's it going?
And I was telling Chris the story.
Chris, we love you.
There you go.
Thank you so much. The studio audience
We
loves
are
you
a
too.
better company because of you.
Awesome.
Oh, wow.
That is a
man,
amazing
she's coming in
compliment.
hard with the
Thank you.
compliments right
Thank
now.
you.
That's hard to get from Brittany. Let
It's
me tell you.
$100 for each compliment.
You know, I mean,
$100 discount. Got it. Make sure we tell David about that. No, I was
at
telling.
10:40 on a Thursday, you'll catch me pretty loose. So.
Nice. Okay.
I was telling Chris the story of the first tasting that we did with them and how everybody in the room wanted to use Perla. Correct or not?
Yeah.
Right. And it was because, I mean, so many things that we talked about in the last hour or whatever, which is it's a very real company. It was very you guys were just convivial in your delivery. It was an honest, just kind of coffee thing. And that's why, for us as a company, we thought about, forever. I would say that in the last 3 years of using our previous roaster, Brittany was like, but what about Perla? Correct or not?
Oh, for sure. I think I brought it up. I think that I rode for Perla harder than anybody. And it was more because I recognized something that I like, Chef, I just texted you about water, yes? This is a very similar conversation to the water that I just texted you about. And I said, I want to change water. And it was because I don't feel like the water that we have represents us at all. And it's not that I felt like the coffee didn't represent us, but here are two guys that are local that I think really cared about cultivating a connection and spoke for the community and developing relationships, and also had a fucking outstanding product. And to me, those are people we should align with. So yeah,
Isn't it
I
empowering
always wanted
to be heard as a team member? When you're bringing that up to the.
She's the big team member though. She takes the large majority of the team membership, so her opinion matters.
And thank you very much for those compliments. I really appreciate it.
Of course, I enjoyed that. And also, honestly, you guys were talking about what's it called, first growth, or what's it called?
Is that,
What is?
there's a dirty
I don't know.
joke
Something about
somewhere in
coffee. Third world, first world.
Oh yeah. Third wave.
First
third
growth.
wave. Yeah,
Third wave.
Third wave.
We all know what that first growth is like.
First growth. You guys been getting loose over there. I don't even know where you're at. We're talking about growths and shit.
I'm at El
Oh,
Vecino
man.
trying to open this motherfucker. Someone's got to do it.
El Vecino's
Coming
first growth.
soon. Coming soon. Hashtag coming soon. El Vecino is coming.
For the
Nick's
first
doing
growth is
podcast.
coming soon.
Live band here too. It's crazy.
I know.
The budget,
Pongo
it's-
Podcast has changed a bunch. But
but I didn't understand a majority of that conversation. The thing that I bonded with the most was just how they both made us feel, which is like we had known them for a long time, and like they had the same agenda as us for the community.
it was like more so in the fact. So like I didn't share all the meetings that we had with Brittany, but it was like Chris was like very much. He's like a solid 3-month check-in guy. He's like, hey, how are you? How's coffee? How's life? But what I remember the most is like when we needed customer service, Chris was the first person to like jump up and say, I got you. Right? And I remember the conversation.
Which also their timing was super crucial, right? Because anything more than that is annoying. Yeah. And anything less than that is like, you don't give a fuck.
Right.
I remember the conversation with Georgia at like 7:15 in the morning on a Sunday. And it was like, Chef, we need coffee. And I'm like, fuck. Yeah, right. Fuck, we need coffee. I'm like, all right, okay. So I was like, where it was sad at the moment is like, where am I going to get my best customer service from someone that doesn't provide customer service for us on a daily basis? And you guys pulled through. And honestly, I think Georgia, which is probably with you, Britt, will agree that it was a savior at that moment.
Yeah.
And for like, I think it was like on a Saturday and then also on a Sunday.
Yeah. It was on the 30th of December because I was on
Great
vacation
timing.
in Tampa. Yeah. So the phone's ringing, and my wife's like, "Who's that?" And I'm like, "It's Mike Beltran." So she said, "You should pick up." And so I did, and that's He's like, "Can you get me 5 pounds of coffee?" I'm like, "We got you." So
actually, but I actually need 15 pounds.
Right.
And then
that was the second call.
Then the next day I was like, I actually need another 15 pounds of coffee. All right, Britt. Well, thank you so much for chiming in here on Pancom Podcast.
Am I the first person that's going to be a phone call part of this podcast?
Second. You're the second. Mario Obregon was the first, but you've been much more pleasant.
Much better, yeah.
I was going to say, at the very least, I'm the most important one.
Yes,
sure.
Without a fucking doubt. That's without a doubt. Where's the Mario noise? There it is. That's Mario right there. So, all right, Britt.
Right, you guys have fun. Nick, I'll just continue to work at El Vecino and do all the things we need. You have fun.
Okay.
That's so good.
You do that. I'm waiting for
Bye, guys.
I'm waiting for
Bye.
some
Have a
water
great night.
tubes
Thank you.
to show up at my house.
Shout out to the new Instagram handle of our executive chef,
yeah.
Gibson. It's a butt with ears.
Yeah. Yeah, a butt with ears, but no keys, apparently.
Britt, do you want to plug your you want to plug your podcast while you're here?
Oh yeah, plug it away.
Oh yeah. So me and Georgia are starting a new podcast. Yeah, I mean, there's no content yet. We're trying to figure out how to make it work without getting fired or canceled. So that's been quite difficult.
Be more
but
worried
it
about
will
part
be
2
called-
of that. Yeah.
It will be called for sure now. We've narrowed down a name that we really like, and it's called A Tale of Two Muffs.
Love that. I love that.
A Tale of Two Muffs.
A Tale of Two Muffs.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait
We
for
can't
the Instagram.
wait. There's going to be some good content.
Do you need advertisers?
I think that's going to...
We just hung up on her.
The legit hang up. I
That's,
thought that was a mute or something. No,
That's ads at dademag.com.
Oh man, that's such a good point to transition us out here. Like that was just like we've had a call in, we've hung up on people.
So good.
all the non-competes are going out tomorrow from the legal department. Yeah.
We've never signed any contracts for this podcast, so we're
Things are very loose around here.
yeah, man.
That's why Morgan & Morgan's the next book guest.
I actually, and I'll say it, you'll probably have to mute all this out, but the biggest podcaster in the country is going to be on property on Friday.
Oh yeah.
Biggest.
Oh yeah. He's a scratch man.
Yeah, he's a scratch guy. Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, is Philip in town?
I mean, I'm sure he will be because he's going to be here for sure.
I mean, let's see if we can, get him to,
Nah.
No, I'm not saying make it happen. I'm just saying drop a mention.
I mean, you talk to Philip about that. I'm not going
I'll
to
talk
fucking
to Phil.
his ego any more than he needs it.
Who was it?
No, you need to go.
No,
you
we're
need to take all this
bleeping all,
out.
we're bleeping all of it.
Yeah.
Rogan.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's
To me, the biggest podcasters in the country are sitting right here.
absolutely
we
Joe
are
Rogan,
there.
We've said it a million times. He took all of our Spotify money.
He did take all of our Spotify money. That's why we're broke.
The Cliff Notes version of it is that not the whole story, but the story of Sushi by Scratch like blowing up was they leave LA when California pandemic restrictions are super restrictive.
Right.
And just sort of like, not randomly, but I guess they had a contact or something in Austin. So go to Austin, they set up, and they're just kind of going month to month in a sort of somewhat random space. Rogan goes, he tells them, what he has a meal there, somewhat unannounced. Philip, the chef owner, happens to be there. They strike up conversation. Rogan loves the whole meal thing, and he tells him like, "Hey, can I get a reservation for next month?" And Philip tells him, we haven't opened up reservations. We don't know. We don't know. We're taking it month to month, whatever.
Right.
So long story short, he tells him like, "Open up the reservations. Promise me that you'll do this. I will tweet about it." And they have an exchange where he like impresses upon him like, "No, I'm serious. Like as soon as you close." So they close. He opens up reservations for 30 days. Maybe 5 minutes later, at about 12:05 a.m., Rogan tweets about it. He had taken a picture of him, and he tweets something along the lines of like, "The best sushi I've ever had is open for reservations in Austin for 30 days, whatever." Inside of about 15 minutes, they're booked solid for 30 days, and within 72 hours, an omakase restaurant with 8 or 10 seats has a wait list 20,000 people.
Oh my god! Wow.
So
I mean, that is the real, the real indication of someone who influences others.
Yeah.
Like that's someone with real influence.
Yeah.
so we'll cut all that out. But
Yeah, it's. Welcome back to Pancon Podcast. Thanks for listening to Brittany Rothwell. But remember, ads at dademag.com.
Is he saying ads or ah?
So the story there, I don't know if you remember what that sound was.
No.
So the story was he was talking about when he was a little kid and he would listen to rap in his room, and he said that was the sound he would make when he knew a curse word was coming, so his mom wouldn't get mad. He'd drown it out with.
That's good.
That's the noise he'd make.
Oh, fucking
Columbus classmate.
Columbus classmate. Yeah. I mean, Mario is a gem, man. He really is a gem. I love that kid.
That's awesome.
So we want to go into our wind down.
I think we're ready for the wind downs. I think we've covered a lot of ground.
Great. So this is where we do our wind down. We're going to start with our parting recommendations. Chris, if you want to go first, you can. Otherwise, you can let us take the lead here.
Yeah, I'll let you take the lead.
Mike, do you have any parting recommendations here?
Perry Mason.
Perry Mason.
Perry Mason on HBO. I have become a huge fan.
This isn't like a remake,
It is a remake.
is it? Okay.
It's a remake of Perry
Got
Mason.
it. I didn't know that. I didn't know it existed.
Yeah, so it's a remake of Perry Mason. So I started. My girlfriend was like, "You should probably watch this," and I was like, "Nah, I don't know." And I watched the
Man,
first 3
speaking
episodes.
of influencers,
Yeah,
she got you.
influence hard.
She got you to watch The Bear. She's got you watching Perry Mason. This is
The
great.
Bear. I
love
can't wait till we do our Bear recap with Nick Zayas.
it.
When is that?
Yeah. Sometime in May.
May.
Nick Zayas.
Yeah, Nick Zayas is a fucking gem. But
Another Columbus classmate.
Columbus
I
classmate.
went on a few dates with his sister, and
No
Nick Zayas'
Wow.
sister, no way.
Holy
Do you know the mom?
I do know the mom.
Oh man, she's a lot. She's the best.
Yeah, yeah.
God,
No,
she's
for sure.
fucking incredible.
I mean, it goes back to the integration into the Latin culture, where it's you go on a date and it's like, oh, come to the quinceañera tomorrow, and it's like
Incredible.
that's actually where arroz imperial, that was where I found that, and she made it. So
Man, I actually just did arroz imperial for a Camilla's house video. It's really easy to make. It was a good time.
yeah,
It was like cooking for a family of 4 for under $25.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And
it's good.
We nailed it. It was $23.75. Perry Mason.
Perry Mason. Yep.
Perry Mason.
HBO.
Perry Mason was a really good time. You got to get past the first 3 episodes. It's kind of slow.
Is it?
It's
detective.
Yeah, detective turned lawyer. He's really just a private investigator turned lawyer. It's a good show. Good writing, great acting. Obviously, it's an HBO show, so they did all the things super well. I enjoyed it. I just started season 2. Haven't dug in super deep. I also started the last season of The Mandalorian. Also very good. That was great. And I also recently dined, which I have talked about before, but I will talk about Saturday and Sunday afternoon. Tropical Chinese dim sum on Saturday and Sunday afternoon is absolutely fucking mint. You walk out for like $25 a person, really full, great food. Service is aggressive, but that's pretty normal. It's like, you want? No, you just, the little carts. It's like, the carts are so plentiful. I feel like I'm on like US 1 on a Saturday afternoon. Like, it's just like fucking, it's like really, really intense. So, get the dumplings, get the shrimp spring roll thing. It's a good time.
Good stuff. I will recommend the documentary that I mentioned, having recommended to Britt. It's East of Havana.
Mm-hmm.
It was a 2006 documentary that follows. It was actually produced by I think Charlize Theron. Follows 3 Cuban rappers, one of whom I know personally, and the other 2 are also very good. So Cliff's Notes, it follows these 3 Cuban rappers in the lead up to a Cuban rap festival that is interrupted by hurricane. But it's kind of like a very interesting, different angle on a more contemporary Cuban story. Like, not that there's not value to it, but the story of the events of the revolution itself, right? Like, get told a lot. And this is a view, or like a sort of interesting vignette of like a very contemporary generation, a specific slice of Cuban life that is worth watching. So, East of Havana.
Reggaeton horn.
Hold on. There it is. All right. Chris, you got any Rex?
Currently reading a book, Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl. Have you read it? It's I definitely recommend it. It was written in right after World War II, but it really ties into how things come together and setbacks that are perceived as setbacks at the time, but definitely aren't. And it's his life and concentration camps up to that stage. So it's deep, but it makes you think. And I think that those are, to me, the most valuable reads and really. Those things, those books that really live with you. So, Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl. Men especially, very timely for me since I just got it this cycle. Get your blood work done. Stay on top of your health. That's something that I don't think it's discussed enough, and especially in this industry, that's really, really important that we take care of ourselves because we are leaders and very vital parts of teams and families. And so, definitely take that as your sign to take care of yourself.
Heard
Good
that.
stuff.
Love that.
Shameless plugs. So this is where you plug all of your own stuff.
Sure.
Go ahead, plug away.
drinkperla.com. We can ship you coffee to brew at home. We can service your hotel, restaurant, coffee shop. We look for great partners that really put a lot of emphasis in where they're sourcing product and really where what they want to deliver the guest experience, the best guest experience. So drinkperla.com, or find me on LinkedIn is my preferred social media platform.
Interesting. I don't think we've ever had a LinkedIn reference on this podcast.
I love
This
LinkedIn.
is the most professional person that's ever been on here, I think.
Yeah.
Is that good or bad? Yeah.
I mean,
I will also note, since we're doing shameless plugs, this is the first time we've had a branded gift show. There's Pan Con Podcast sandwiches on these.
This is
bags
crazy.
of coffee. This is wild. This is craziness.
Look at that. That's wild.
¿Viste? Mira eso que nice? That's perfect. Stay like that the rest of the time.
Perfect.
Mike, shameless plugs.
All the things. All the things. Arietta Nave. Scapegoat and the Taurus. Shugs and the Gibson. All the things.
All the things. At this point, just all the things.
Big Ink Apparel. Scoops and Laurel. Miami against the world. All the things.
All the things. Insert song.
All the things.
All the things.
All the things.
Good.
And finally, you can find Pan Con Podcast on all the things at Pan Con Podcast, PANCON Podcast, like a podcast sandwich. That's Instagram and all the things. And also give us all your money at patreon.com.
All of it.
DADEMAG, DADEMAG. Give us all of your money. Look out for announcements of our next live events, probably late July and early November.
Sure.
Maybe.
Possible July and November.
Yeah. Those are the best times. And now, lightning round.
Oh, lightning round?
Yeah, we'll do a quick
All
lightning
right, that's cool.
round. Yeah.
I can make it happen.
Great.
Well, I mean, what? Okay, before we do lightning round,
Yeah, we got to do the thanks to Chris and all
Thanks for doing this really ridiculous thing that we do. And if you didn't pay us $1 to listen to lightning round, fucking A. Thanks for chiming in or whatever. Thanks.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Of course. My pleasure.
Wow.